The knock came just after midnight, loud enough to shake the thin walls of the small rented house, and powerful enough to make Daniel Harper freeze, with fear. Outside, rain lashed against the windows while thunder rolled across the dark sky. Daniel had learned long ago that nothing good arrived after midnight. Not unpaid bills, not bad memories, and certainly not strangers in black luxury cars. His 7-year-old daughter, Lily, stirred beneath the blanket on the couch, where she had fallen asleep, while waiting for him to finish sewing torn uniforms for extra money. Daniel looked toward the door with trembling hands. Then came the second knock. Slow, heavy, unforgiving, when Daniel opened the curtain slightly. His heart nearly stopped. A man in a dark tailored coat stood beneath the porch light beside 2 security guards and a sleek black car worth more than Daniel could earn in 10 years. Even through the rain, Daniel recognized the face instantly. Nathaniel Vaughn, one of the most powerful CEOs in the country. The billionaire whose face appeared on magazine covers and financial news channels. And somehow, he was standing at Daniel's door. Before Daniel could understand why, the man looked directly toward the window and said words that made Daniel's blood run cold. "It's time to repay what you owe me." Before we continue, take a moment to like this video, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel if you believe kindness and second chances can change lives. Stories like this remind us that even in darkness, humanity still matters. Daniel's hands shook as he opened the door. The rain carried the smell of wet asphalt and cold fear. Nathaniel Vaughn stepped forward with the calm confidence of a man who controlled boardrooms and billion-dollar decisions. Yet something strange flickered in his expression, not anger, not arrogance, but a heavy seriousness Daniel could not understand. Daniel had not seen Nathaniel in 12 years. 12 years since a single night that Daniel barely allowed himself to remember. Back then, Daniel was not a struggling single father stitching clothes and skipping meals to pay rent. He had been 24, hopeful, and working long overnight shifts at a roadside diner outside Chicago. Life had already been difficult, but it had not yet broken him. His wife Emma was alive then. They had dreams, small dreams maybe, but beautiful ones. A modest apartment, a child, a future that felt possible. Nathaniel looked around the worn house. The faded walls, the patched ceiling, the broken heater Daniel had been unable to replace. And sleeping nearby, little Lily. Nathaniel's eyes paused on the child. Then he looked back at Daniel. The words that followed were calm but unsettling. Daniel remembered, and suddenly the memory returned with painful clarity. It had been a freezing winter night. The diner was nearly empty when a young man wearing an expensive coat stumbled through the doors, bleeding from a cut near his temple and barely conscious. Most people would have assumed trouble and called security. Daniel had done something else. He had helped. The stranger carried no identification and seemed terrified, constantly glancing toward the windows. Daniel offered coffee, first aid, and silence. Hours later, Daniel learned the truth. The injured stranger was Nathaniel Vaughn, then an unknown technology entrepreneur whose business partners had betrayed him during a hostile takeover and left him stranded after an assault connected to corporate sabotage. Police involvement could have triggered scandal and destroyed everything Nathaniel had worked for. Daniel had sheltered him overnight, without asking for money or favors. By dawn, Nathaniel had left. Before leaving, he had offered Daniel a blank check. Daniel refused. He had simply said something his father once taught him. People aren't investments. Nathaniel never forgot those words. But Daniel had, or at least tried to. Life became cruel soon afterward. Emma became ill. Medical bills swallowed their savings. The cheerful woman who filled their apartment with music slowly faded beneath hospital lights and endless treatments. Daniel worked 2 jobs, then 3. But love could not defeat disease. Emma died holding his hand while whispering apologies she never owed. Daniel buried his wife and nearly buried himself beside her. What remained was Lily, tiny, fragile, and entirely dependent on him. Single fatherhood was not the romantic struggle people described in movies. It was exhaustion, fear, loneliness. Daniel learned how to braid hair through online tutorials. He burned dinners and cried silently while pretending everything was fine. Some nights he skipped food so Lily could have seconds. He drove delivery vans, cleaned offices, repaired clothes, sold Emma's jewelry, sold his car, sold almost everything except memories. And through it all, he never asked anyone for rescue. Nathaniel stood quietly inside the house while those memories passed between them, like ghosts. Then, he revealed why he had come. Years ago, after becoming one of the youngest CEOs in the country, Nathaniel had searched for Daniel. But Daniel had moved repeatedly after Emma's death. Now Nathaniel had finally found him. And the debt Nathaniel spoke about was not financial. It was personal. He believed his entire life had changed because one exhausted diner worker chose compassion over profit. Daniel stared at him confused. He expected gratitude, maybe charity. But Nathaniel's next revelation changed everything. Nathaniel was dying. The diagnosis had arrived months earlier. A rare degenerative illness with uncertain treatment. Options and limited time. Money bought specialists. It bought private hospitals. It bought experimental medicine. But it did not buy certainty. And sickness had forced Nathaniel to confront something terrifying. He had built an empire, yet possessed almost no genuine human connection. His parents were gone. His marriage had collapsed years earlier. His board respected him, but feared him. He had wealth beyond imagination and loneliness beyond measurement. During endless hospital nights, one memory returned repeatedly. The young diner worker who expected nothing. The man who treated a stranger like family. Nathaniel had spent 12 years repaying shareholders, investors, and competitors, but not the person who mattered most. That was why he came. Daniel expected an envelope, a donation. Instead, Nathaniel made an impossible request. He wanted Daniel to work for him, not as an employee, as his personal advisor and household manager during treatment. The salary was enormous, housing included, Lily's education guaranteed, medical coverage, security, everything Daniel could never provide alone. Daniel felt offended. It sounded like pity disguised as opportunity. His pride stiffened. He had survived too much to become someone's charity project. Nathaniel understood. He said little. Instead, he handed Daniel a folder and prepared to leave. Inside was not a contract. It contained photographs. Pictures Nathaniel's investigators had quietly gathered while locating him. Daniel walking Lily to school, fixing bicycles for neighborhood children without payment, helping an elderly neighbor carry groceries, standing alone beside Emma's grave. Nathaniel had not come to rescue a broken man. He had come because Daniel was still the same person from the diner, and Nathaniel trusted almost nobody. Rain continued falling as the black car disappeared. Daniel stood in silence. Then Lily awoke. She asked who had visited. Daniel smiled weakly and called him an old friend. That night he barely slept. The offer haunted him. Pride said no. Fear said maybe. Hope remained silent. Days later, life made the decision harder. Daniel lost one of his part-time jobs after company downsizing. Then Lily developed pneumonia. Hospital bills returned like old enemies. Watching his daughter struggle to breathe beneath harsh fluorescent lights shattered something inside him. Parents know this feeling. The helpless terror of wishing you could trade places with your child. Daniel sat beside Lily's hospital bed remembering Nathaniel's offer. Not because of money, because he was tired. Tired of surviving without ever truly living. Finally, he called. Nathaniel answered personally. 2 weeks later, Daniel and Lily arrived at Vaughn Estate. The mansion looked unreal. Wide gardens, marble halls. Staff who moved with quiet precision. Lily stared with childlike amazement, while Daniel felt painfully out of place. Yet, something, unexpected happened. Nathaniel did not treat them like guests. He treated them like necessary people. Daniel's responsibilities were unusual, organizing Nathaniel's daily life, filtering meetings, providing practical perspective. and gradually something deeper. Honesty. Nathaniel had lived surrounded by agreement and polished deception. Daniel disagreed freely. He criticized reckless decisions, encouraged rest, insisted executives treat workers fairly. At first, board members disliked him. A poor single father advising a billionaire seemed absurd. But Nathaniel listened, and business changed. Employee benefits expanded. Scholarship programs emerged. Corporate culture softened. For the first time, Nathaniel's empire felt human. Meanwhile, Lily transformed the mansion. Children possessed strange power. She named garden squirrels, left drawings on Nathaniel's desk, asked embarrassing but innocent questions, and somehow the feared CEO laughed again. The Sawenti relationship growing inside that mansion surprised everyone. Not employer and employee, not benefactor and recipient, something closer to family. But peace rarely lasts without challenge. News leaked. Media exploded with speculation. Headlines accused Daniel of manipulation, gold digging, secret inheritance schemes. Online strangers judged him without mercy. Then came betrayal. A senior executive seeking control forged documents, suggesting Daniel influenced company decisions for personal gain. The scandal threatened everything. Board members demanded Daniel's removal. Reporters camped outside gates. Nathaniel's health worsened beneath stress. Daniel saw history repeating itself. Powerful people protecting wealth. Truth becoming irrelevant. And once again he prepared to walk away. Late one evening he packed quietly. He would not allow Lily or Nathaniel to suffer because of him. But Nathaniel stopped him. For the first time, the powerful CEO appeared vulnerable. He confessed fear, not fear of death, fear of returning to the empty life he once lived. Then evidence surfaced. Security records exposed the executive's forgery. The conspiracy collapsed. Public opinion shifted. But the experience changed Daniel profoundly. He realized something painful. He had spent years refusing help because accepting kindness felt dangerous. Emma's death taught him loss. Poverty taught him distrust. Yet refusing support had become its own prison. One autumn morning, Nathaniel underwent risky treatment overseas. Success remained uncertain. Before leaving, he handed Daniel sealed documents. Daniel assumed legal paperwork. After Nathaniel departed, he opened them. Inside were ownership papers, not to the mansion, not to the company, but to something more personal, a community housing and education foundation Nathaniel created in Emma's name. Its mission was simple: help single parents avoid the desperation Daniel once faced. Nathaniel wanted Daniel to lead it. Tears blurred Daniel's vision. Not because of money, because someone had listened to his pain and transformed it into purpose. Before we reach the ending, we have one special request. Please comment below with the words, "Kindness comes back." Your words may inspire someone reading the comments today. Months passed. The treatment succeeded beyond expectations. Not a miracle, not complete healing, but time, more precious time. And when Nathaniel returned home, he found something waiting. The foundation had already begun helping families. Apartments restored, scholarships granted, parents employed, children protected. Emma's name lived where suffering once stood. One evening, beneath golden autumn trees, Daniel watched Lily laugh while chasing leaves across the garden. Nathaniel sat nearby. Quieter now but peaceful, Daniel realized the strange truth. The debt between them had never been financial. Neither man owed the other. The diner worker saved a frightened stranger. The CEO later saved a struggling father. But deeper than rescue was recognition. Two wounded people had simply refused to abandon each other. And perhaps that is what changes lives most, not wealth, power, or status, but the courage to see humanity where others see inconvenience. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps stories of compassion and hope reach more people who may need them. Years later, visitors entering the Emma Harper Foundation would notice two framed photographs hanging side by side. One showed a tired young waiter standing outside an old diner. The other showed a powerful CEO smiling beside a little girl. Beneath them rested a simple line: "Kindness is the only debt that grows richer when repaid." And every time Daniel passed those photographs, he remembered the terrifying midnight knock that once filled him with fear. Because sometimes the door we fear opening carries not destruction, but the second chance we never believed we deserved.